Let's talk about bias tape because this is one of the most confusing parts of sewing, and even people who've been sewing for years can get confused about what bias tape is and how it's different from quilt binding. Quilt binding and bias tape are both ways of finishing the edge of a project. Both of them are made by cutting strips of fabric and then sewing them together into one long piece and pressing the fabric so that the wrong side of the fabric is hidden. The main difference between bias tape and quilt binding is that quilt binding will be cut on a straight grain, which means cutting it this way where the fabric doesn't stretch as much. Bias tape is cut at a 45-degree angle, otherwise known as the bias of the fabric, and this is the direction of the fabric that has more stretch. Bias tape is made with these little tools called bias tape makers, and these are usually sold in 5-packs with different sizes. And then quilt binding, on the other hand, is usually made by cutting strips of fabric on the straight grain and then just folding them in half and pressing. Making bias tape can be a little bit complicated, so you might be wondering why you would want to make it at all. And the reason is that bias tape is stretchy, which is essential for going around curved edges. So it's used a lot in garment making, but I also like to use bias tape for most of my sewing projects because I find it easier to work with. And it also uses less fabric depending on what size of bias tape maker you are using. One of the cool things about a bias tape maker is that you don't just have to use it for fabric that is cut on the bias. You can also use it for fabric that you cut on the straight grain. So this is cut on the straight grain, and I fed it through my bias tape maker, and it looks like bias tape, but the only difference is that it doesn't have that stretch level. So if I were using this on a curved project, it would be more difficult to use this. But I find this tool the easiest way to make really neat edges, which is why I use it for almost everything. I sometimes call this bias tape just because I made it with my bias tape maker, but technically I'm not sure what this is called, so I usually just refer to it as straight grain binding because it's a binding and it's cut on the straight grain, even though I used this to make it. So hopefully this doesn't create more confusion, what I'm calling these, but people don't always agree on what quilt edgings are called, so that's just what made the most sense for the comparison here. So like I said, you really can't tell the difference visually once it's on your project, but the difference is just how it's made and then how it's attached. So this edge here is the quilt binding. You sew it on like this with the raw edges aligned with usually a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you fold it over to the back of your project. If you were finishing your quilt by hand binding, then you would sew through this folded edge to attach it to the back of your quilt. But you can also machine bind it by sewing usually on the right side of the fabric. So most people will stitch in here, which is called stitching in the ditch. And that is so that your stitching is hidden in that little fold and you're basically never going to see it. But then on the back side, it's just this nice straight line here. So bias tape, on the other hand, is attached like this. So you're laying your tape right sides together with the raw edges aligned, just like you did for the binding, but you're just sewing through this one layer here. And then when you're done sewing that on, you're taking this folded edge and you're taking this to the back. And then you would stitch this on the same way. I like doing it from the right side to the wrong side, so stitching in the ditch along here, and then that is going to catch your fabric in a really nice, neat way on the back. But you could hand sew bias tape on as well. Now, I know technically I said that this is not bias tape because it is cut on the straight grain, but if you're attaching true traditional bias tape to a project this way, it is going to look exactly the same. So something that makes this even more confusing is that there is single fold bias tape and double fold bias tape. And the reason this is so confusing is that this is single fold bias tape, but technically it has two folds. And so a lot of people will think that this is double fold bias tape because of that. But really, this is single fold bias tape. And this is because the fabric is just folded down once on each side to the wrong side. So that's all you really need to know about single fold bias tape. Double fold bias tape is narrower, and that is because it has been folded one more time towards the middle. So after making single fold bias tape like this, it's folded and pressed again. And that is just creating a tape that has no raw edges. So all of them are tucked inside. So I'm going to show you how to make this traditional bias tape that is cut on a 45-degree angle and uses a bias tape maker. You're going to want a ruler with a 45-degree line on it that you can use to line up on the straight edge of the fabric. I'm using painter's tape to make that line stand out because it's a little bit difficult to see, especially if you have a busy print. So I'm just lining up painter's tape along that 45-degree line on my ruler. And then you're going to line this up on the selvage of the fabric or any of the straight lines on your cutting mat. And then I like to start a few inches in to cut my first angle of fabric. That's going to go in my scrap pile because the pieces are going to be too short if I use that. The width of your strips is going to vary depending on what size of bias tape maker you are using. For mine, the strips need to be 1.5 inches, so I've put a piece of painter's tape on that line of my ruler. And then I'm using that to cut my strips more easily. There's going to be a chart linked in the description below that has all of the sizes that you need for a standard bias tape maker. My favorite size is the 1.5 inch, which is the size that I am making here. I'm just cutting multiple strips because I want to make a long piece of bias tape, and then we will be sewing them together next. Before sewing them together, I like to cut off the pointed tips because it makes it a lot easier to work with. To sew these together, you're going to take two pieces and lay them right sides together at a 90-degree angle. You want the pieces overlapped so that 1/4 inch of fabric is sticking out from each end of the strip. And then we're going to be sewing these together across the strip at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to sew up the middle, you want to sew across. So I like to eyeball this, but you can also draw a line if it makes it easier for you. You're going to start in that little corner between the 1/4 inch that's hanging over and the rest of the strip, and then just sew a straight line across to the other corner. And make sure you're backstitching at the beginning and the end. After it's done, you can fold it out and see what it will look like. And the reason you sew it like that is so that you don't have a big lump of fabric where the fabrics are joined together. So we're just going to keep sewing these pieces together, and when we're done, we will trim off this extra. So grab another set of fabric ends and lay them together with a 1/4 inch of fabric sticking out on each end, and then you're going to sew across at a 45-degree angle again. You can chain piece these, which means you're sewing into the next piece right after finishing the first one, but when you're doing that, make sure you're maintaining that 90-degree angle because it's a little bit trickier to do that when you are chain piecing. When you're done, you're going to have a nice long strip, and then we're going to be trimming off that extra fabric. I like to do this on my cutting mat with a rotary cutter. So I'm trimming a 1/4 inch away from that seam to create a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's a little hard to see the stitching, but my cut is a 1/4 inch away from my stitching. And then I'm just trimming off those little tiny corners as well. And when you fold it out, it should be nice and straight. Next, we're going to press open those seams so that they lay nice and flat before we put them through the bias tape maker. So I'm taking my iron and just pressing all of these little seams open. Before you use the bias tape maker, I like to wrap my fabric around a paper tube, and this keeps it from getting tangled as you're working with it. So I'm just rolling this up around a toilet paper tube, and then I'm going to set it on the end of my ironing board. So before showing you my preferred method for making bias tape, I'm going to explain how the instructions for these tools usually tell you to make it, and this is why a lot of people have a hard time making bias tape. So you're going to feed the fabric through the tool with the wrong side of the fabric facing you and the colorful part of the bias tape maker facing up. And then the instructions will usually tell you to slide the bias tape maker along as you're ironing it, and that is supposed to hold it in place. But the problem with this method is that because the fabric is facing up towards you, you're always fighting against that fold, and it's constantly going to be getting distorted by the movement of your iron, even if it's really hot. So, a lot of people, myself included, find this method really frustrating, and that is why I do it just a little bit differently. So, I'm still feeding my fabric through the bias tape maker, but then I'm flipping it upside down so I'm looking at the silver side. And then I'm also flipping my fabric over as well so that the right side of the fabric is facing me. I like to use a dry iron for this method because your fingers are so close to the front of the iron on the tool that it's really easy for the steam to shoot out and burn you. So I will actually just spray my fabric with water or starch to help keep those presses in place. So you're going to be moving the bias tape maker and the iron along at the same rate, pressing the fabric that comes out of the bias tape maker. I like to go really slow so that the presses get really nicely held in place. That end is going to be a little messy, but we're just going to trim that off when we're done. You're going to keep doing this along the entire length of the fabric until you get to the end. And I like to go as slow as possible just to make sure the presses are really nice and crisp. And you can see that this method makes it a lot easier to get really nice, neat bias tape that you're not fighting with the whole time. If you're having trouble getting it to stay nice and crisp, starch is definitely going to help. So you can just spray the starch on each section as you get to it and keep going. So, if you're thinking that this method looks really slow and tedious, it kind of is, but I find it really fun to make. And if you really hate it, there are tools that you can use that make bias tape automatically, but they do cost a bit more. And if you're just getting started with bias tape, these little pressing tools are way easier and a lot more cost effective. So when you get to the end, you'll just pull the bias tape maker off and press to the end. And then you have some really nice, neat bias tape that's ready to use for your project. And I just wanted to show you where one of the joins is, and it looks really nice and neat because we cut them at a 45-degree angle and sewed them at an angle. When you're done, I like to trim off that little pointed end to make it nice and neat. And then if I'm not using the bias tape right away, I'll roll it into a nice little coil and put some paper or tape around it to hold it in place. And this just keeps it from getting tangled up in your storage until you're ready to use it. And if you want to go an extra step, you can also measure it and write how long the bias tape is on the paper, and then you won't have to guess later on when you're using it. I hope this method helps you make bias tape, and remember that I do have a downloadable chart that you can print off at home, and this is in my Ko-fi shop. Thanks for watching and happy sewing!